Buenos dias, Argentina. Mi nombre es Dirk. I am the Regional Sales Agronomist for MBFI in the Northern Cape and Free State provinces. Pecan nut production is huge in these areas, especially the Northern Cape, with all the irrigation made possible by big dams, rivers and canal systems. I serve as the lead for pecan nut production and development in MBFI, and I work with a lot of chemical and fertilizer distributors as well as pecan nut farmers in South Africa. Today, however, I'm representing SAPPA, the South African Pecan Nut Producers Association. And I'm going to try and give you a better idea or a glimpse of the pecan nut market and industry in South Africa. So please sit back and enjoy the explanatory video of SAPPA. South Africa is a very diverse country with a lot of different climatic regions. Our pecan producing area is divided into two main areas, namely the eastern and the western producing areas. The eastern producing areas is very humid with a high rainfall, and typically we plant scab resistant varieties in this specific area. Looking at the western region, it's very dry with warm summers. If you look at what varieties to plant in South Africa, it all depends on which region you are producing in. In the eastern region, you would typically find Eucalinga as your main cultivar, with some Barton, Choctaw, Sussex and Cape Fear planted as pollinators. And then in the drier western regions, you would find Wichita as your main cultivar, with some Pawnee, Navajo, Choctaw and Western Sly planted as your pollinators. South Africa has an estimate of 40,000 hectares of planted pecans, of which 17,000 hectares are older than 7 years and can be considered in production. The western region makes up 2/3 of the total planted area in South Africa. And like I told you before, the western part is typically drier with hotter summers. The Farlards irrigation scheme, that's also in the Northern Cape or Western region, have about 18,000 hectares under irrigation and is the biggest producing area in South Africa. The type of irrigation they use varies from drip irrigation to micro irrigation, still flat irrigation in certain areas, as well as pivot irrigation, where new blocks were established on old pivots that they planted wheat or maize on. Although South Africa is a water scarce country, most of the new establishments and existing ones have been done next to big stable water systems like dams or rivers, and water security is relatively stable in those specific areas. Looking at the yield of pecan nuts in South Africa, there isn't really a big difference between small, medium and large farmers. It comes down to the type of farmer and his management practices rather than the size of his farming unit. The yield will be different across the different production regions of South Africa, and that is mainly because of variation in climate. We also experience differences in yield season to season due to the variation in seasonal climate, as well as the alternating yield properties of the pecan nuts like we know them. Production in the eastern region is typically lower than in the western region, and that is mainly because of the lower heat units. And if you look at the average yield of pecan nuts in South Africa, of the trees that are in production, it would vary between 1 ton and 2.5 ton average. With regards to growers in different regions that use boreholes, they have to use their water a lot more effective and sparingly, because you don't want to deplete your borehole. So there are areas that are at risk of the aquifers mainly drying up. Then the last part, if you look at the western region in South Africa, it's the main region where new establishments are taking place, where you've got adequate irrigation water, which is obviously essential in this hot part of the country. We have various sizes of farmers in South Africa. Typically, we refer to a small farmer as someone with less than 5 hectares of pecan nuts. A medium farmer would have 5 to 50 hectares of pecan nuts, and then large farmers would have anything from 50 to 300 or 500 hectares of pecan nuts, which is quite large, I think, even in the global sense. If you look at the division of them, the percentage they make out of the market, there's no exact number that SAPPA can give, but using a guesstimate, one would say small farmers are 15 to 20% of the market, your medium farmers 75 to 80% of the market, and then your large farmers would be 5 to 10% of the pecan industry. Each class of farmer can be found in both the eastern and western production regions, and they would plant mainly the cultivars that are suited to that area. Contrary to popular belief, large farmers who ranch their trees, meaning they over-commercialize, don't usually or necessarily do the best. A lot of the time, farmers making use of precision agriculture and looking after weaker areas in their orchards seem to do the best. We've already got farmers that are achieving yields of 4 to 6 tons per hectare pecan nuts, which is incredible. And they do this by looking after their soil health, which includes physical health, chemical health, and your biological health, making use of precision agriculture, and then using the right soil biological products and biostimulants of reputable companies. Looking at the different sizes or scale of farmers, it's only natural to assume they will have different strengths and weaknesses. The biggest weakness that both our small and medium farmers experience in South Africa is to handle the capital cost of equipment. In other words, the average capital cost of equipment decreases with the increase in your hectares that you plant. The same size tractor and implement can establish a 5, 15 or 50 hectare orchard, but the cost of your tractor and implement remains the same. The same example can be used for crop sprayers, your harvesting machines, and even your hedges or pruning machines. Some challenges that South African farmers face at the moment, which include small to big farmers, are more or less the same. The current load shedding and rolling blackouts due to Eskom, no electricity, is no pumps, as no water. Managing seasonal climate, we've got extreme heat during flowering period and a lot of frost during bud break. Sunlight management is a big problem from small to big farmers due to the cost of those hedging machines. One machine costs up to 6 million rand, and the ones you can hire are not always available. Overflow of information, it's still a new field and farmers are not sure which information to trust. Cash flow until production of your trees. Small to big farmers, all of them intercrop, or a lot of them intercrop and interplant to get additional income until your tree is mature enough to produce pecan nuts. The best practice only is not to intercrop according to us. And then lastly, large producers can mechanize more easily than smaller farmers can. They still need to rely on costly labor, which is also making it really hard. At the moment, South Africa doesn't really have a formal system where small and medium farmers can collaborate and buy expensive machinery jointly. However, a lot of small farmers do work together to buy the expensive machines like crop sprayers and your harvesting machines. But it remains the decision of each and every farmer at the end of the day. Some big farmers will even buy those expensive hedging machines with other producers and then rent them out throughout the season. We also have a lot of advisors and entrepreneurs in South Africa who sell their advice and services like establishment of new orchards, pruning, as well as inoculation of trees. The demand of pecan nuts in South Africa is quite low, as it is considered as an expensive luxury item, and more than 90% of our pecan nuts are exported to China. Luckily, South Africa has a lot of processors and procurers who buy pecan nuts from small, medium and large farmers, with no real advantage for farmers delivering a lot more product. So even the small guy can deliver his product at the processor. These processors that sell our pecan nuts internationally vary in size, and they work on extremely low margins internationally, as low as 2 Rand per kilogram. But some of them export as many as 10,000 tons in a year, which makes it lucrative if you look at it that way. Some procurers or processors in South Africa have recently created new systems that can help small, medium and large farmers. One such company is GWK. It's an agricultural cooperation, and it created an open book system where producers can buy shares in the company. Then they deliver their produce to that company, and they can actually see the price of their produce, what it went for internationally. The better it does internationally, the more dividends you get with your base payment, which is quite nice for all size of farmers to really get an additional advantage and know exactly where your product is headed and how much you can make on it. Some procurers, we definitely see a bright future for the pecan nut industry in South Africa, as well as the global market. And we look forward to working with Argentina, learning from you guys, cross-pollinating, if I may call it that, and really try and figure out the challenges we currently have in our country and yours as well, and how we can move together as two separate countries in the new pecan nut global industry. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.